Within this set of videos, I'm going to introduce PioSolver and walk through some of the various features and functionality within the tool. So when you first install PioSolver on your PC, it's going to install in the C drive. So a lot of times what you'll see with new applications by default, they're going to install within your program files folders. PioSolver actually installs by default directly within your C drive. You can change that through the installation. You can move that folder if you'd like, but this is the default option. It ends up being installed right within your C drive. Now, when you open up PioSolver, the folder, you'll notice that there are a lot of different files within this folder, and you don't need to worry about a lot of these, but a lot of times people will have trouble understanding what they actually open up when they enter PioSolver. Because the first thing, I remember when I first opened up PioSolver the first time, the first thing I opened up was one of these PioSolver files. Quick note here is that PioSolver just had a major update this past year from PioSolver 1 to PioSolver 2. So you'll see here that I have two different options here. I could open up the legacy PioSolver 1 file, but we're going to be spending all of our time here using PioSolver 2, the most updated versions, because they've made some very, very major upgrades that have been really awesome, in my opinion. So that's what we're going to use within this set of videos here. But you could also, open up the legacy PioSolver if you wanted to as well. But if I clicked on this file, PioSolver 2, what you'll see is it actually opens up this command window, and it doesn't really look like what we would expect from a solver. And that's because PioSolver, the solver itself, is different from the user interface that we can use to build trees and to look at outputs. So we're not necessarily going to be opening up this PioSolver file. Instead, what we're going to be opening up is the PioViewer file, which is that user interface that allows us to interact with the solver, build trees, look at outputs, and ultimately we're going to be doing the large majority of our work there. So I'll open up that in a second. The only other thing I'll really note here about this folder is that whenever you do have an update to PioSolver, you'll use this PioUpdater file, which will, when you do open that up, it's going to give you an option to update any of the files that you actually have. And you can actually see the products that you're registered for. So you can see here, I have the Pro license for PioSolver. I think the Pro license is going to be best for the overwhelming majority of users. The Edge license, which we'll get into this throughout the course of the videos, can give you some additional power. It allows you to use all of the CPUs in your computer. It also allows you to explore preflop solutions, which I'll introduce within this module, but we're not going to spend a lot of time looking at preflop solutions within this overall course, at least within PioSolver. But if you do want to update your license here for any reason, if PioSolver comes out with an update to push, this is where you would be installing or updating any of your PioSolver files. But when I do open Pio for the first time, I'm going to open this PioViewer file. And when I do open PioViewer, it's going to take me to this larger screen. So as I mentioned here in the front of this module, I'm going to focus on the what's here. So I'm going to mainly walk through within this set of videos the user interface and what everything is. And all of the whys on these various screens where, why might I be making certain decisions in building trees? Why might I be interpreting a data point as I am? I'll cover those in upcoming modules because in there we're going to focus on some very, very specific use cases. Really, what I want to do within this specific video is just kind of set the stage for the rest of the videos in this PioSolver instructional manual. I've broken this suite of videos up into really 5 main videos here. So as you see kind of when you look at the top of the screen, we have 4 tabs. So we have a browser tab, we have a post-flop tree building and calculations tab, we have a pre-flop tab, and we have a tree information tab. And I'm going to have in each one of those videos, I'm going to spend a little bit of time walking through the various components on each one of those tabs. So there's going to be a separate video devoted to each one of the tabs. And then finally, I'm going to have a fifth video that walks through this file menu structure. So once I click on all of these menus up top, you can see that there's a lot of additional options here and a lot of additional functionality within there. So the last video is going to walk through all of the various options that I have at the top of the PO viewer screen. You can feel free to jump around where it makes sense for you, but in this first video, I'm going to spend a little time skipping past this browser tab and actually starting with the post-flop tree building and calculations tab. So let's wrap up this video, and I'll see you in that next video where we introduce the first part of PioSolver.